So I just watched the new Amazon Prime 6-episode miniseries, The Devil's Hour. And despite it being released around Halloween and the title, there are no spooky demons or gremlins or devils or anything like that. But there is something in this show much scarier. The harrowing, pained, terrifying face of Peter Capaldi. So I'm going to start with a non-spoiler overall series thoughts and what I thought and all that stuff, but I'm also going to do a ending explained, but also there's a lot going on in that end. So I'm going to try and dive into what? So Timecodes, if you just want to get to the part where I'm like, sorry, what? What? Overall, I found this series to be kind of perfect. Like, it is so amazing. It feels like it's trying to do like 3 or 4 different genres, but it never feels kind of clumsy or like kind of convoluted. I mean, the story gets pretty convoluted, but that's intentional. Like, it's this really weird, crazy mystery with these really weird, mind-bending, trippy kind of bizarre elements to it. It's like a really dirty crime procedural thriller. Like, it reminds me of a show that my mum would watch, and she'd be like, I watched another crime show, and you're like, what was it called, Mum? And she's like, I don't remember. I forgot it as soon as I finished it. But then I started watching this other crime drama set in Britain, and it was also good. What's the name of that one, Mum, so I can watch it? I've also forgotten. So it had that element of like a British crime procedural drama, but done like really, really well. All the cops in this are fantastic. All the characterization of everyone is kind of where it really stands out, apart from just being them going around doing cop stuff. We have child abductions, we have psychological thrillers, we have just a serial killer plot going on. Like, there's a lot going on. The mystery and the intrigue of what is going on with this story, what's going on with Jessica Rain's character, Lucy Chambers, and her son, Isaac. Like, they are going through some really bizarre, trippy kind of things. Like, I really don't want to give anything away in terms of like exactly what is happening. It's very surreal, very mind-bending. It starts off with little tidbits here and there. Like, one of the main things at the start is this woman, Lucy Chambers, our main character. She wakes up every single night at 3:33. The Devil's Hour. Apparently. I've never heard of this before. But apparently that's what that time of the time is. I guess 333, half of 666. So he gets 666 and half of that, so that's his time too. You'd think 666. Oh wait, no, you can't have a 666 on the clock. See, this is why I struggle with the end, because I'm an idiot. But she sees glimpses of things here and there that seem a bit off, and so that mystery and the intrigue there is captivating. It is incredibly kind of just like, I got to say more. It's very binge-inducing. It's really, really, really interesting. And then we have Peter Capaldi's character, and every time he speaks, just chills at the back of your spine, and his voice, and just, he's got such command of just like saying really kind of big, wordy, ethereal things where he's like, and he's like saying a whole bunch of just gibberish nonsense, but you're just like, please say more, and I must understand why you said what? It's impossibly entertaining and engaging, but one of the things that really kind of drew me into the story really early on is Lucy Chambers' son, Isaac. He is played by a little actor called Ben Shivers, and that's a brilliant name because he gives you the shivers. That's the worst thing I've ever said. I apologize to everybody listening, and particularly Ben Shivers. I know you're watching. This kid is exceptional. He's so amazing. This kid is essentially a little boy with no emotion, no feeling, and he just exists. And it's really surreal, and it's heartbreaking and devastating. There are some harrowing moments with this kid and his mum, like her singing and dancing in the car and trying to like just get him to smile or something, and it's just nothing. Like, not angry, not sad, not depressed, and not like weird where you're like, oh, he's like a serial killer, what's he gonna kill animals? It's like, no, it's just like a blank slate, and it's so emotionally powerful. There are a few scenes with him and his mum that pretty much put me to the verge of tears. I can't remember the last time I cried, yet alone got close to crying. It is really powerful stuff. Like, if you want to see some rich family drama, like, oh, the mum, she loves this kid, but he literally cannot love, maybe, or something. What's up with the kid? What's going on? And then the dad, who's a bit estranged at first, he kind of comes back into the fold, and oh boy, it's rich with drama and just you don't like the dad. That's for sure. He sucks. So the whole story is essentially a big old psychological thriller as this woman Lucy slowly thinks maybe she's going crazy and just something's off. something's off about just everything. What's up with the kid? What's up with Peter Capaldi? Is he the worst man who ever lived in this world? Maybe. There's a lot going on, and it's all kind of wrapped up in this kind of really interesting police procedural, and Lucy is also kind of like a social worker, so there's really interesting element of all of that going on, and it all slowly converges and ties in this really dense, intense story. It definitely becomes quite convoluted and insane and just trippy and crazy by the end, so if you're wanting something like a bit more kind of just clean cut and dry, this isn't for you. But once you watch the first episode, you're going to get the idea of how weird and trippy and what kind of weird and trippy mind-bending stuff is going on. And I would be surprised if it's not for you. Like, I can't think of anybody in my life I wouldn't recommend this to. Peter Capaldi is kind of the draw. I mean, just look at that face. So much gravitas and pain and intensity and sadness and just, there's those wrinkles are rich with richness or something. I just love his face. But Peter Capaldi isn't the best part of this show. That's how good this show is. That's how good the plot is. That's how good the child is. That's how good Lucy is. I think Lucy is kind of the standout. Jessica Raine is now kind of my favorite, like, actress. I get out of here, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, in the bin! She's so likable, she's harrowing and sad, but she's so much fun, and she's trying so hard, and she loves her kid, and there's just so much going on. The character feels so complex, so well-rounded. There is so much going on with her. I fell in love with her, like, within an episode or two, and then by the end, just like, it is truly spectacular stuff. So go bloody check it out. You're going to start and be like, well, I know what I'm doing for the next 6 hours. Probably should have started this earlier in the night because it's just that good. And then when you finish, come back and let's discuss this end, which I'm going to talk about now because, what? I have questions. I think I understand the ending. Ending explained video. Here we go. Or more of a ending explained question mark. I don't know if I've got this correct. So this might be wrong. But let's unpack, and please, if you think you understand, just comment below. I would really love people to explain this to me, the man making the explained video. For the whole series, I was just asking so many questions, and I had so many thoughts and theories. It was like, is it a parallel universe? Is it the multiverse? Is it this? Is it that? Is it time travel? All these questions, all these thoughts and theories for all the things that I've seen previously. But then at the end, it's like, it's a death loop. And once everyone dies, they just reset and live their life again. But some people, if you're like, the sexy and amazing Peter Capaldi, you just remember and you get memories of the future. So you're not time traveling or anything. You've just lived and died. So you remember bits and pieces like you do a memory now, which is so cool and so interesting. It leads you along to think it's this or that or that or this. But it's this really unique and new and interesting take on all of this kind of stuff. It kind of reminded me of like the longest version of Groundhog Day. Like Groundhog Day, every Groundhog Day story, Edge of Tomorrow is another example. I don't know. Edge of Tomorrow is all I think of because it's the best Groundhog Day. Fight me! Yeah, it's better than Groundhog Day. Just come at me in the comments. Don't. I presume I'm alone in thinking that. I love me some Tom Cruise. I can't get enough of that little man. I could just grab him and put him in your pocket. But he wouldn't like that. He would oh boy, he would not like me trying to put him in my pocket. He'd be smiling and laughing like, ha 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 ha! Get me out of your pocket! But unlike Groundhog Day, where it takes one day, it's like you have to live your whole life before you can go back and change and fix something. Like Peter Capaldi, it's just like, see, like what he's going through is such a long haul, like it's such a long con kind of situation of trying to fix or do things. So as the season progressed, Peter Capaldi's character, it kind of became clear to me that he was like a good guy, or at least he saw himself. And yes, he's killing people, but as he says, like they were going to kill worse people. And we get the worst kind of moment of that when the big cop, the guy's got the grizzly voice, and it's just like, oh, his voice is so good. I'm pretty sure he's in the Batman, and he says the first F-bomb in a Batman movie, maybe. But it seems very clear to me now, and then in that kind of reveal flashback of his life, he is killing people that deserve to die. He's even trying to like make rapists not rapists for when they rebirth and just do their life again. So he's like torturing them like his experiments and doing all this really interesting stuff. But then he gets to the point where he explains about Isaac. And for me, that was like, it all made sense. It was all clear, but it was so devastating and heartbreaking and kind of really sad because even though Isaac has been so bizarre and like kind of upsetting at times with just how blank slate, how emotionless he is. And there's like, like like 5% of you understands how the dad just disconnects so hard and just finds him so weird and scary. But then the dad is so cruel and so awful that you kind of like, well, no, that's not at all how you deal with it. And the mum trying so hard, like trying to take him, like singing songs in the car and taking him to like get a toy and seeing all the other kids just be normal. And there's such a sadness to all of this story. But then you slowly do kind of grow to like Isaac, even though he's really weird and scary, and it's kind of almost funny how off he is. But then you slowly kind of grow to like him, even though there's nothing really there. And so at the end, for Peter Capaldi to say he is like, you know, an aberration, he's like not meant to be there, and he's not resetting each time because it's like a glitch in the Matrix or whatever, and he's got no soul. That really hurt. It was like a really weird kind of big kind of revelation moment where all the things were clicking and he's just like, he's not meant to be here. And you're like, oh my God, like every time he kept saying like, I'm not meant to be here. Like he realizes what he is, but he can't kind of comprehend it and he can't explain it. And it's left him soulless. And it's heartbreaking, devastating stuff. I love the idea that Peter Capaldi has been stuck in this room and he always gets to this point in his life and he's like, I can't save more people. I can't do my whole Batman vigilante killing people or stabbing tires. It's very dramatic difference in what he does to save people's lives at different times. But then he was like, how do I trick this Lucy Chambers into, letting me escape? I'll make sure she's not a cop by saving her mother. And I thought that was a really nice twist. I thought that was a really interesting way to make it all connect and make the mother storyline kind of like fit into the main story with Peter Capaldi as well. She was such a great like little oddity. You knew she was kind of going through the same stuff as Isaac, so I always thought, they might have been like a hereditary thing passed down. But no, it's when he saved her, it then created a timeline which Isaac existed. But this is where my mind kind of goes, wait, but so Isaac, he's like soulless, even though he does say, I love you right at the end before he sets fire to the place. So it's like, he does have some kind of soul, but he can't feel emotions. We obviously see that through the whole series. So he's kind of stilted in some way because he's an aberration, because he's like not meant to be there, and because it's a timeline that isn't meant to exist. But the thing that Peter Capaldi did for the mum, saving the mum from killing herself, that's what he's doing with everybody. So there would just be so many people that he has saved everywhere. And if any of them have had kids, they would all be like Isaac. And we would just have all these soulless, for lack of a better word, people around with no emotions. And yet, I don't know, it's not that we see that bigger scope, but I just felt like, wouldn't this be happening? Like, why is he so fixated on Isaac? He's like, not meant to be here, this and that. Wouldn't that have happened for hundreds or thousands of people? Like, because he's been doing this so, like, endlessly forever. So I don't know, that just felt a bit weird. And I guess maybe that is what's happened everywhere else, but he's just focused on this because this is the story we're seeing. I don't know, that just felt a bit weird. Like, is Isaac like an anomaly, but wouldn't he be like not an anomaly? Wouldn't that happen everywhere? So I don't know, I was a bit confused about that. I also love the idea that Lucy in like the original, like in the real timeline outside this aberration, this timeline that was never meant to exist. I love the idea that she's always a cop and she's always capturing Ember every time. Every time it's her and her husband capturing him. And so when he like saves the mum, which creates like a timeline where she meets Mike and has Isaac, I guess due to Isaac being the way he is, she started going into social work, which I found really interesting. But all that stuff then ended up leading her back to him anyway. So he was trying to kind of escape her, but he couldn't kind of do that anyway, which I found really interesting. But at the end, when she runs in and she's in the other family's house, the girl who's running across the road all the time, but actually wasn't, because timey-wimey, whatever the hell. So she's in the fire, in the house, looking for Isaac. Isaac's not there, so he looks like he's kind of jumped the way he did when they thought he was abducted. He's jumped to another place. I don't know where. I would love if someone could tell me where he went. At one point, I'm like, did he go? Is that like the handprint scene where he looks back and he's like, oh, well, I don't know why I'm here. But that doesn't make sense either, because I'm pretty sure he has a shirt on there, or is he taking the shirt off in the fireplace, like in the fire scene at the end? It'd be weird if he put his shirt back on to time jump, or the shirt like came back on as he time jumped. That, I mean, but also timey-wimey, whatever. I don't know how shirts work when you're crossing through realities or the same life but a different life, or parallel world, the multi-earth, multi-dimension, but as she falls and dies in the fire, and she's all like coughing and jumping through all the timelines, it cuts to her as the cop, and then you see the family from across the thing. She's got the burn scar that she sees briefly, so it's from like the original timeline that she's like a sort of snapshot of. And I loved how all of these things tied in. Like I'd completely forgotten that that other mom had a burn like for a brief second, so it all fits together really nicely. It's all well crafted, but at the end she's a cop. And it's like, wait, so did the series end with Peter Capaldi doing a bit of a Hannibal Lecter with less on the face and just with, you know, some shoelace? So a less extreme Hannibal Lecter, but he does a little escape. And so I guess he escapes, he changes some timeline stuff again, and she goes back to her original timeline. So Isaac is erased, which feels really awful and mean and kind of... Wait, why did we getting to love this bizarre little child boy with no feelings? And right at the end, he like does a couple of smiles, and he even says, "I love you." That's like the last thing he does before he disintegrates and doesn't exist anymore. That just feels like a really weird way to end it and wrap it up. Or is it implied that he's just jumped somewhere else and he's just going to kind of exist? She's a cop again. Don't worry about the kid. Even though she seemed really happy and married to other cop man who was awesome. I loved him and all the ring things showing up. So it's like clearly they're happy and that's awesome, rather than her awful husband in this universe, Mike, who's just the worst man ever. That beer scene, just horrendous. But it just feels weird to be like Isaac should never existed, so he doesn't exist and everything's all good now. Or is that what it's implying? I don't know if that's what it's implying. This is kind of the part where I'm like, ending explained. I don't know how to explain this. It feels like maybe I'm misreading what they're trying to say with the end. But to me, her being like, oh, I don't know, something deja vu or whatever. I'm a cop again. It was like, so Isaac doesn't exist? Why? That feels so... Yeah, it feels mean. I'm repeating myself. I'm just very confused. I'm trying to sort it out in my brain. But as I said before, I'm stupid, so I probably just didn't get it. Comment below. Let me know what happened, please. So for a series that has a mystery, and it has an answer to that mystery, and it builds up, and it's all buildy, tension, reveals, revelations, twists and turns. Oh, it's a big whole Fight Club reveal thingy going on. Is it satisfying? Yes. Does it make any sense? Yes. I think so. Maybe not. No, it doesn't make sense. I'm not sure. This is probably the worst ending explained video. Maybe I shouldn't put that in the title, but I will, because I got to try and get some kind of, got to get those clicks or whatever, right? Something algorithm.